There's a good chance you're probably using AI wrong right now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be a little different. As you've probably noticed with the last 3 videos of this channel, it's been mostly talking head and me talking at you about different things like Pixel and Apple and stuff like that. Today's a little different. We are going to be talking about AI, and I can already hear the comments and people. You probably already clicked off this video. You're probably not even hearing the thing that I'm about to say. But let me just say this. Everything is getting AI dumped into it, and I don't think that it should be. Let me just be very clear with that. I still fully believe that AI is a hammer in search of a nail, but I do believe that there's no way that we're going to get around it, especially in 2025. You just saw it with the Samsung event. They're just dumping all AI, everything basically into the new Samsung phone, which is fine. And they did the exact same thing with the Apple and Apple Intelligence, which has been a giant flop. And then also the same thing with Gemini, which, by the way, still much better in every way in terms of Apple against Apple Intelligence. Not even close. Look, I use an iPhone now, and it's super disheartening over the stuff that Apple Intelligence is doing. And I hope that 18.4 comes through and makes it absolutely fantastic, because right now on 18.3 at the time of this recording, it's very blah. But anyway, I digress. That's kind of the topic of this particular episode. Is we're all glued to our phones. We're sitting there, but are we really using them to their fullest potential, especially when it comes to AI? Now you have things like photo editors and all this other AI stuff. That's kind of not what I want to talk about. That is what it is. Like, you get Photoshop beta that does all the stuff for AI and generative AI from like what Midjourney is doing, where you're using text to generate different types of photos. And now you have other things where you can generate video. I'm not talking about all that. I'm taking this strictly from the lens of just the average person that uses their phone and AI just like every Joe Schmo out there. So when I say the average person, what I mean is a person who has average intelligence, like me, having the ability to use the different AI services out there. Let me show you what I use on a day-to-day, just to kind of show you the art of the possible, and that everything that you see coming out from phones and different services like that, the biggest area I think opportunity-wise that I think we as consumers have is just dabbling in trying to do the art of the possible. So I plan on talking about the services that I use today, and one that's up and coming in the news, it's blowing up in the news today. It's called DeepSeek, which is a open source ChatGPT type competitor. And I've tried it, and it's actually not too bad. But I digress. Let's talk about the different services that I use. So the different services that I use today, I use some sort of combination of ChatGPT, Gemini, and Notebook LLM. Now, I am a data professional. That's what I do as a regular job. I've been doing data for a really long time. I have to know data privacy laws. I've got to know different data governance, data management type stuff. So I have to do a tremendous amount of reading as it relates to different states and countries' international law as it relates to data usage, ethics, that type of stuff. So I use ChatGPT, Gemini, and Notebook LLM somewhat, depending on what I needed to do, in a variety of different ways. Now, the first one I'll talk about is Notebook LLM. If you don't know what Google Notebook LLM is, you are truly missing out. What Google Notebook LLM is really, really good at, it is like one of the best organizational tools for your notes and stuff like that. What makes it kind of special? It takes a whole bunch of text, things that you feed it from either articles, links, sources, whatever you want to have, and summarizes it into key points where you have automatic categorization. It kind of fills everything out the way that you want to, so you can organize different meeting groups and different meeting notes. What I use it for, since I have to read a lot of data type laws. Law is public information here in the United States. So all I have to do is go to where the law is published, wherever that might be particularly done. Usually use the PDF. I can use a web link and then drop that into Google Notebook LLM, and it summarizes that law for me. But the most important part for me is then I can start to query against it using natural language to say hey, how would this particular law be impacted around data sharing? How would this particular law, interact with and be impacted by ethical data usage? And so the Notebook LLM AI gives me the ability to know a lot of information about different data laws in the fastest way possible. Now, do you still have to read the data law? Probably. So 9 times out of 10, I still have to read it, which is not the greatest thing in the history of ever. But one of the things that Notebook LLM does really well, and you've probably seen it in the news, it can create a podcast, a totally AI created podcast between two AIs, what sound like male and female, talking about the source or the sources that you dropped into that notebook. So it literally can create an audio podcast of whatever the thing that you dropped into as a source and makes it sound even more exciting than you can possibly imagine. So for funsies, what I did was dropped the data privacy law or the data law, GDPR. So over from the UK, I dropped that into Google Notebook LLM and said, hey, create me a podcast, basically giving me the rundown of what this thing is. Now, I knew what it was, so I didn't have to worry too much about hallucinations or anything like that, because if it did hallucinate, I'd be able to call it out on it. It didn't. So that's the magical thing about Notebook LLM. If you're not using it to organize a lot of notes or a lot of PDFs, a lot of Word, or whatever the answer is, you're totally missing out. Now, I would be remiss to say, being a data professional and all, do not put your company information in there that you don't anticipate to lose or anything like that. You have to maintain the fact that everything that I'm talking about here is done through, it is public information. The laws and everything that is published is all public information. Do not put your proprietary information out there. Don't put your company's proprietary information out there. Don't put your personal information out there. Don't ever put your personal information in anything related to AI right now for any other reason. Don't do it. Don't do it. But with Google Notebook LLM, I have the ability to query a large amount of information in a very short amount of time. And it's super easy to do. It's literally drag and drop, copy, paste. And you can sound like a total expert in your next business meeting when you use Google Notebook LLM to all of your professional friends. So I use it a lot. I use it every single day. It makes me sound much smarter than I actually am. And so if you want to take that next step, you should totally do that. Notebook LLM, totally worth it. Now, kind of circling back to GPT and Gemini, you know all about them, but let me go ahead and tell you about what I use them for. I use them to create new objectives for what I think we want to do from a company's perspective. So I don't drop any company information in at all. I provided information that basically says, hey, I am looking to create new 2025 goals and objectives for my particular department. The department that I work in is related to this, that, and the other. Again, no proprietary information about your company itself. You can generalize your information. I assure you of that. And I use that to create a very good standard boilerplate or just something that is a good, solid start to goals and objectives. And then I can modify from there. Yeah, you've heard about the fact that you can write emails. You've heard about the fact that you can, put, hey, write this email a little bit nicer for me because this one's a little bit too mean and this particular person doesn't want. Yeah. All AI can do that. I get that. But the idea is like, I can use this as a really quick brainstormer for me. So it's like having a person that knows what I'm talking about, specifically from a data perspective or a content creation perspective. It's like having that person kind of in your pocket. That way you can just have that conversation with them. At any given point, I can pull my phone out and I can just fire up ChatGPT or Gemini and just start asking it questions. I can use the voice mode. I can use just the straight text mode, whatever you seem fit to do it. And I can bounce different ideas off of it. Now you can create things like gems, or you can create different things that are very specific GPTs. Honestly, I don't even do that. I just create in the moment a new chat of the thing that I'm trying to do. Both of them have memory if you basically pay for the services, and I do pay for the service. But the point I'm trying to get is the thing that I do every single day is I basically treat it as though it's kind of an extension of my brain where I need to ask it a question about my particular profession. Now, it'll do research, find real-time information. Both of them can set reminders and stuff like that. But for me, it gives me the ability to have a person to help me brainstorm in the moment. As a matter of fact, I used it to help brainstorm the idea of this particular video. Now, I'm only using it as a very much a straw man where I can bounce around and talk about different points. But I'm really kind of telling you, like, it helps me kind of formulate different thoughts and pull them all together about what the art of the possible is to do. Like, so here's a great example. I specifically asked to say, hey, like, what's good about Google Gemini? What's bad about Google Gemini? And it does the cheesy thing where it's like, all right, leaning closer to the camera. Next, we have Google Gemini, which is partly under wraps, but promises to be a massive upgrade in AI capabilities. I don't use it to generate scripts. You can, but I don't, because it sounds kind of cheesy when you read it that way. But it talks about the different things that it can do. Gemini integrates with the Google ecosystem. True, I can get tasks, I can get emails, I can get calendar, I can get weather, I can get all of that stuff. Multimodal abilities, meaning I have the ability to use it to create text from text. I have the ability to create a picture from text. So I can say, hey, generate me an image of blah, 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 blah. And it will give me the ability to do that. And so it also talks about how, some of the future usage that this thing believes Gemini will be able to do. Professional uses. For project managers, it could automatically generate tasks for your email or calendar invites. That sounds great. But again, is this a hammer in search of a nail? Or am I only using this as kind of a creative body to brainstorm with me the way that I want to do it? So I guess what I'm saying out of all of this is, if you're not using AI, you should absolutely be using AI for just about anything, just to see the art of the possible. I'm probably barely scratching the surface on how AI is supposed to be used, but from a professional perspective, I have seen where this gives me some sort of straw man or structure to begin with that I can fill in using my professional knowledge. I have had better ability to create goals, objectives in this year using AI than not having it. Before, what took me a while to make it, now it doesn't take me nearly as long, but it still requires a human touch. And I'll just say it very plainly. A lot of the text that it generates, if you're generating a script, really sounds cheesy, and it's probably not the way that you talk, but it does give you the ability to have something to react to. That way you can just kind of glance off screen like I'm doing and just understand that these are some of the things that you may or may not want to talk about. Now, there are some other services out there. I've talked about the ones that I use. I've used a lot of them. Claude from Amazon, that's another really good one, kind of an up and comer. It sounds a little more human in a lot of instances. I personally don't like it from the research perspective, but that is my particular use case. Perplexity is another one. Everybody seems, I think they're trying to buy TikTok right as we speak. So it's Monday, the 27th of January when I'm recording this. I think Perplexity is still trying to buy TikTok. We'll see how that goes. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't really like their service. It's a little bit too much for me. It seems very overwhelming. The idea of having multiple different types of AIs in one location sounds great in theory, but in practice, I just didn't seem to enjoy the service nearly as much. I have used Midjourney to create images and things like that. I've used the new one, which is the hot topic coming out right now, is DeepSeek, which is the Chinese AI open source startup that just came out today or came out over the weekend and actually put the financial markets in quite a tizzy because it actually knocked down NVIDIA down from its top perch of being the wealthy company that it still is going to be at the end of the day. But the idea that you're seeing with AI today is DeepSeek is able to generate a very good version, not a knockoff version, but a very good version of its particular AI service at a fraction of the cost that you see with ChatGPT. So in 2025, we're probably going to see a lot more. But by the way, all of the things that I've talked about in this particular video, they're all apps that are available on your phone today. So you should absolutely be going and using these particular services on your phone, because I use them quite literally every single day, and they help generate different ideas, get information, find out something really, really quickly that would normally take me a lot longer to read, like those data laws. And I can get that information at my fingertips much faster than ever before. Do I think AI is going to replace humans? In some instances, yeah. Do I think AI is going to enhance our ability as humans to be bigger, faster, stronger from information? Probably. And I am leaning hard into trying to use the service to give me the upper hand in every way possible, because you just never know what tomorrow might bring. So I appreciate you listening to my rambling. Again, I'll leave links in the description below for all the different services that I talked about. Check them out. Yeah, I think you're going to actually really enjoy them. So that's it. That's all I have. As always, like, share, subscribe, thumbs up, do all the YouTube things that you normally do. And I will see you in the very next video.